5 minutes ago?
I've been
Could be-
using it.
could be
since
English,
COVID. It's a necessary evil.
Okay, it's recording.
Cool.
Today's date
It's the
is
19th.
the 19th of June.
Very cool.
It's Juneteenth, and we're in LA.
It's Juneteenth.
It is Juneteenth. we're in LA in Studio 2 at EastWest Studios, 6000 Sunset Boulevard.
Awesome. Art Kelm could not be on the call, but actually he said something in the last, probably about 2 years ago, when everybody was coming back out of COVID. And he said, Bryan, let's get the band back together. And a lot of us in the room know what that means. So this is getting the band back together. So welcome to Juneteenth,
Yeah.
as Candace just said. I'm going to introduce everybody in the room, and then we'll kind of tell you what all this is about. But with this will be the launch of what we're calling Rteam1. Rteam1, in its smallest version, has a racing looking R, TEAM, because we are a team, and the number 1. And when it gets drawn out into its longer versions, it's OURTEAMONE, because it's our team as one, unified, and we do really cool shit together. And finally, it's OURTEAMWON, because the people in this group have won a lot of the top awards in the world and will continue to do so. And so welcome to Rteam1 on June 19th, 2025. We're standing at EastWest Studios in Studio 2, where some of the most famous musicians in the world have recorded here. We're standing with, this is Candace to my right, and she's the general manager of EastWest Studios. This is Keith to my left, and he's the right hand of the general manager of EastWest Studios. So I guess manager when you're not here.
Yeah, it's operations. Yeah, that's right. Operations.
On that Zoom call in the far distance is the reason I'm standing here. That's Thierry Migeotte, great recording engineer who's actually building a new studio.
Studio designer and acoustic designer as well.
Yeah, fantastic. The best in the world. Every time we go to one of his places that he puts in big systems, our engineering teams don't even need to calibrate. Doesn't happen anywhere else. And he's building a new studio. Let me try this. Liège, Belgium.
Yeah.
This lovely lady is Natalia, my daughter and the love of my life, who got into several different design schools, and she's about to go off to college, and she ended up choosing SCAD in Savannah, Georgia. Raelynne, can you get back around onto this? This is Raelynne.
Hi.
Raelynne is the daughter of Brent Rodemeyer, who worked as my right hand or partner in crime, or whatever you want to call it, with my brother and I for over a decade. Monster Cable before that. They live in Texas. And again, we're trying to put the band back together.
Yeah.
Going to come this way real quick. So this is Mikhail. He's representing very high-end audio video installations, including he won Best Theaters and so forth, just the last year's CEDIA from Russia. So really, he's not actually here. He's just flying around waiting to go back. No, he's been great. Back there on the call real quick, and then we'll try to get it going. And I know you got a meeting in any second. That's Leon. So him and Bryan are the top two of the AUX architecture, AUX, and they're working on several major projects. One of the few architecture firms that was really open-minded, proactive with us, and we actually put a bunch of custom audio into their awesome building in downtown Los Angeles. And one of my favorite people. Hi, Leon. And this is on the bottom there. This is Jazz. Jazz just graduated from university. It's King's College, yeah? And the timing was perfect. So her father owns an audio video company in the UK. She came to the Monaco Yacht Show. And I watched everybody else kind of trying to look busy, and Jazz was getting things done 5 times the speed of everybody else. First one there, last one to leave, open-minded, wires up all the equipment, helps everything. So we said, hey, that'd be a good person to have someday. We didn't know we were actually going to get her on the team. So we said, hey, you want to come into Barcelona? It was her senior year and booked, this is just 3 months ago, for the Super Yacht Technology Show. And again, first one away, last one to leave, and ran it all the way till 3 in the morning, put it all together. And so she just graduated. She's a great writer. I had been slowly writing this idea of a business plan over the last couple of years and started focusing on it a lot more the last 6 months. Jazz came and took that entire work, put it together. I think she talks to her mom in the right hand, types with the left, and put it together in a concise fashion. And we're very, very lucky. So Jazz, we haven't even figured out official titles yet, but she's my right hand woman, I guess, and representing all this moving forward out of London. I think I got everybody.
I think you
Bryan.
did.
All right. So,
Bryan, too.
oh, Bryan's back. I don't see him.
Bryan Bilgore.
Bryan, I don't see you.
There he is.
Hey guys.
There we go. This is Bryan Bilgore. Been one of my best friends for 20 years plus. and everybody in this room. LA and New York City. Right now, New York City more than LA. His wife is lovely as well, 2 kids. Several of these degrees from these universities we're talking about. In my opinion, the best 2-channel specialist I've ever met in my life. Some might say Michael Frimmer, some might say Brian Bilgore. But when we go to the Munich Hi-Fi show, those are the 2 who walk around together. So I'm very, very lucky to have him that. And then to keep his ears tuned, besides the fact he has several degrees and a master's degree in trumpet. Once we were sitting at the front row of the Hollywood Bowl and I start talking about Mahler, Bryan lets me go for 5 minutes before he goes, by the way, perhaps I should tell you, I have a master's degree thesis in Mahler. Not bad. So, Paul, do we not have Paul in there yet? Paul, can I see you? I'm going to try to find Paul real quick, and then we'll let people talk real quick.
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Paul. Oh, wow, look at the beard. I've never seen it. Man, that looks good.
Thank you.
Paul is one of those incredible visionaries that this type of stuff doesn't happen without him at all. I can't say where the project is, but he's worked with some of the most amazing technology in the world and some of the most incredible people. And we just put together a project that's, 5+ years in the making? It's been installed.
Yeah.
And literally took all of what we do to an entirely different level at every single point, including even this phone call. So the idea of getting the band back together is getting the best people in the world that love the vision, that things start at the recording studio level. Actually, I guess they start in someone's pencil or brain somewhere. Can I say in honor to the person that I said the last person I saw was right there?
Oh yeah, you mentioned Brian Wilson.
Now, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, the last place I saw him was right there on that sofa.
Yeah, you guys can't see it. It's a couch in the back of the room. But there you go.
There.
And just to have a little bit of fun. Can you see what they're saying? I'm just trying to see the board.
Spin it around. There you go.
Okay, no, I was going to try to see the board.
There you go.
So we don't normally do this stuff. That's fun.
Yeah.
So that board recorded Queen's Night at the Opera. And a lot more. Let's say
Like Iggy Pop, Raw Power. Everybody that's on this call, what you would know it was done here would be like the Chili Peppers, 8 Records, Tom Petty, the Stones, Muse,
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston. Oh, Whitney Houston did I Will Always Love You in this room. Everybody thinks it was a big room. It wasn't. It was this room. But in the 70s, it was a TV theme room. We were all too young, most of you. But it was all the music for the Partridge Family, all the music for the Monkees, Hawaii Five-O, tons and tons of TV themes. But we are a regular studio. We do all kinds of artists you've never heard of. And then by the time you've heard of them, they're famous after they come here. We don't even know who they are half the time when they come in. But everybody makes a first record. Just remember that.
She mentioned Whitney Houston. So
Yeah. I Will Always Love You.
Natalia does everything, in my opinion, awesome. But she can sing. And she's probably not much heavier now than she was before. So she was definitely under 100 pounds. And I said, if you ever can bring it, then sing Whitney Houston. And so we're going to an Elton John concert. It was November 20th at Dodger Stadium, the very last concert, which you can actually see on Disney Plus. We're 24 songs in, and he sings what's called Your Song, How Wonderful Life Is When You're in the World.
Oh,
And that gets us,
great song.
well, certainly me, crying.
Oh, yeah. Elton John was here too. I forgot that. I got that part.
And we're driving home, and Natalia surprises me right to my right, belts out, I Will Always Love You from Whitney Houston. And when we got to her house, top down, I actually put it on and recorded it again from that.
Nice.
It's all so full circle.
Proud dad.
It's unbelievable. So we're about to wrap this up. This is going to be just telling the world the business plans are almost done and would never even be close if it wasn't for that lovely late. Where's Jazz? I can't see a picture better.
What does it do?
This is the club.
The whole thing.
Well, so what's great is what we got out so far is as you can imagine, a page full of superlatives because I helped write it.
Yeah.
And it says about all these amazing things we're going to be. It doesn't tell you how we're going to get there.
Okay.
What makes it fun, and I was working on until 5 a.m, was the 18 pages of say how we're going to get there.
Okay.
At some point in the next week or two, people will merge that together a little bit.
All right.
So we do have it ready to put out those 18 pages today. That's why I was up all night. And it very, very detailed says what we're going to do.
Cool.
And for the most part, how we're going to do it. But essentially, in a nutshell, when you go to a gym, I think the memberships around LA are a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
Maybe $300 a month for the Equinox or something. That's about what it's going to cost people to be a member of this thing on a monthly hit like a gym.
Cool.
The gym is supposed to get you in shape or help you get in shape.
Yeah.
And this club is supposed to keep our businesses and our futures in shape as some of us get a lot older, some of us keep getting younger. And allow it to be able to do it all over the world. You can be working in Russia, even though you don't have to be there right now. So the internet didn't exist when we tried our first group together, which was just a bunch of high-end manufacturers, which is great. Second group, we added dealers to the equation. That makes it a little bit more difficult. because every dealership's a little bit different. They have their different personalities.
And they're competitive.
And they're competitive. So it's always like, hey, yeah, yeah, you're gonna be a great group. And then about a month later, it's like, I don't want to work with that guy. You kidding me? You're always- So that, but they're in it. But it's way better than that. So then we're involving the people that we spend a lot of time with, where it's laid, the studios will be involved. Art Kelman, I said, who put all this together, besides doing power and grounding at the best in the world, he was also does a lot of stuff for the Eagles, and he was one of the vice presidents.
Unbelievable technician and designer
Yeah,
in his own right. Capitol Studios, Universal Nashville, very talented, old friend of mine, but very talented guy.
Wouldn't know without, wouldn't put all together without Thierry. Wouldn't have been able to do that without Candace and Keith.
There you go.
The gentleman named Anatoly Stukhanov that represented all Russia at the very highest end. He now is retired pretty much, and he does things I can't say, but it's pretty spectacular. Moved to Nashville, Tennessee. So we're gonna go out there in a few weeks and see what he's got going with the studios. Thierry, who was in LA most of the time that I knew him before, is now building a studio in Liège, Belgium. The point is, what this group does is it gets everybody together when it's gonna be a really good project, and they don't even have to get on an airplane. And we know that we are technology and audio video centric, and that it will obviously be on high-end estates and in some corporate boardrooms that are amazing and on some super yachts.
Cool.
But we're inviting everybody to the table as part of all that, whether it's the wire company or it's the microphone company, whether it's the kind of people that would want to work with the board or live sound engineers. I can't mention his name right now, but if you want to do the mixing at the Hollywood Bowl, that guy or girl will fly out to you. So it puts together the entire loop of anything you want behind the scenes. People much younger than me and much more organized get that whole group together, figure out the scope of the project, and then micromanage it at a non-biased level, as opposed to, and everybody being competitive.
Right.
But when the answer is to try to put the best together, there's not a lot at that level. You kind of know who you are. And some of the industries, like the recording industry and like the ISS, the International Super Yacht Society, they've done some of the work for us. We know what companies show up there year after year after year. Or you go to Metz in Amsterdam, and it has the super yacht technology part of it. And then people like Jack and Will, who put together the Super Yacht Technology Show in Barcelona, which we've now sponsored 3 years in a row. The people are amazing. And it's often one man, one woman, or maybe three. And now there's 70. And they're the best of the best. And they might not be able to jump off a ladder as easy, and they might not be able to travel as much, and then you bring in the next layer. And the internet is now going to help us market this, because the first big page will have everybody's link essentially to their websites. So that's the minimum. You get onto this thing, it says, these are amongst the best of the best. Everybody pretty much knows, when you look around, who they are. If anybody's left off, please call us. And then it goes to your link into your own individual businesses. But because that's how it started in the concept. And then everybody's like, well, can I put one of my videos on that front page? Sure. Can I put a job that we're working on or what's cool? Yeah, do that too. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we have talks? And yes, we can do all that. It gets paid for again by those monthly memberships. So it is not registered. Where's Lucas? Lucas, is he on there? Lucas has been on there. Maybe that's
He's
right
right
there. Okay. Hey, Lucas. I know I'm not supposed to say any legal stuff, but essentially it's ran where we take this money every month that comes in off gym membership level prices on a credit card. A couple of people really know what they're doing, keep all that together and keep that to be a great website. Whereas opposed to some of the websites, I'll mention companies know that you can't be very proactive with their websites. This you can. So it'll be have all ways of the clients or the I think we said 10 years or older can play. So a grandchild, boy or girl, who's 10 and decides something needs to happen, can go and put it into this group. And then the we're calling it the Jazz. Can you hear? You on there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. The official name for the concierge people are 7-star agents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So it goes into that, and they take care of you. Put it back here. Oh, you forgot power and grounding, or you forgot cabling, or you forgot, because it's not very many projects that are as great as Paul's, who's down there. He plays that guy. So Paul, you there? He may back off again. Well,
Yeah, I'm here.
essentially, this helps guys like you do what you do. And if we help it even 1%, it should be good for you. But he knows what this takes. And to give you an idea, but Bryan Bilgore is back on there. At one of the projects, and he came in from New York, and this place is halfway away from New York in the United States. And he made sure that all the high-end 2-channel stuff all the way through the process was there. Kind of going full circle on some of this stuff. We got to meet several of the artists, as Candace said, but Bernie Dressel from the BBB band, and he's also toured. I think he just finished touring with Bocelli. We were going to put all musicians and everything, and we'll do that at one of the major calls in the future. He'll probably play some sort of a launch. Bernie let us play around with the last 2 albums a lot, and we just laid down the 4th one, which is called #1 Son, and we did it in Studio One on the knee board. Actually, you guys can say real quick. You're on this way real quick. The 2-inch tape.
Oh, down, yeah, from the on the Neve 8078 all the way down to 2-inch tape down to 1/2 inch, I believe.
And then you did some final remastering in Belgium, yeah?
I think so. I think Thierry do some of that.
I don't know if Thierry worked on it. So then they finally did the last pieces with Wilfred, who was the founder of Oral 3D and also the founder of Galaxy Studios in Belgium, and absolutely amongst the top, best of the world. And finally, the recently retired senior vice president of Dolby. These two would have been technically the two powerhouses of the world. And Natalia helped me go up there and do that several times. So Doug Darrow was the retired senior vice president of Dolby, and his lovely wife, Priscilla, who is the president of Kaleidoscape. They couldn't get on the call because they're in Barcelona right now at a theater show. But we put 4, I'm trying to keep this company deliberately not saying. So we put 4 of the big audio speakers that we've recently made, actually they're little, and we rocked out Howell Mountain. And that kind of brought that whole thing full circle. So that's what we've been actively up
Howell
to.
Mountain up in Napa?
Howell Mountain up in Napa. It's pretty much, it looks right over.
That's where my cab is from for next week's wine.
Solid.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Wasn't supposed to tell that.
I know it's from Napa anyway.
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
So we will be going back up there. So this group will meet 3 or 4 times a year at cool places like Howell Mountain up in Napa.
Nice.
Also full circle because
Is it like a new Bohemian Grove where we're all just elite members?
It's even crazier than that. So the fires went through Napa.
Does anyone, you guys know what Bohemian Grove is? Did the people on the call know what the Bohemian Grove is? The Bohemian Grove is a group of very high-end, world-famous politicians, et cetera, who meet once a year in Bohemian Grove.
They do, and they did some parts of the research
Presidents.
of nuclear bomb actually.
Yeah,
Before it went
presidents,
to,
scientists.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Northern California's got a bunch of geeks like that. So, and I spent half my life in Davis on the other side of it, which is where my family and everything's from, and brother, mother, father, sister, they're also in Davis. And our next door neighbor was one of the top professors in Oxford and came to do a year sabbatical, never left, and had 4,000 or 5,000 bottles of all the first French, first growth French wines and all the things, and introduced us to Napa. And yes, some people on this call have been part of making cat wine. We went 2014, not 15, then 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then you asked about the what they're doing up in Napa that's been so unique. Finally, we'll probably close with that. So the fires ripped through Napa, sadly, about 5 years ago, and stopped pretty much right up to the grapevines because the ground's then wet and so forth. And then, unfortunately, the fires ripped through not too far from where we're standing right now in Malibu and Pacific Palisades and all that down here in Los Angeles. And so the wine guys up there went, nothing happened to our wine caves either. We could have just sat there, kept drinking wine, fire got right overhead. So turns out these guys are backward. So now there's all the companies that can make caves they could possibly find are blowing caves. Okay, you guys made it in. We're just ready to go. Come on in. They've been helping out a lot. Hello. This is Hannah. Yeah, and then Lucas is going to cover really quickly. This is Hannah, and this is the group. And she recently graduated from Parsons School of Design, which was originally where Natalia was going to go, and she switched to CAD now and helped out these processes, which have been fantastic. And this is Lucas, it's going to sound like fun. You ever watch Sesame Street?
I don't know where this is going, but yes.
Can't be scared, right?
In no way representative of how you look, but once a month, approximately, Snuffleupagus would come.
I was thinking Big Bird, but I'll take that.
And we all got excited when we were kids because Snuffleupagus would just show up on that show. It was like Freddie Mercury came back alive with it, right? And we had Alistair that was even bigger than you. Alistair was 6'8", 6'9", but Alistair was always out about. And Lucas has been behind the scenes for almost a year now, helping me without becoming official in the legal category. But he is a lawyer and a great one, and a couple degrees at Columbia, and helped steer this process as good as I think you're about to all see it. So that's Lucas right there, and can't make anything official that way, but a huge help. You got it in just the right time. So finishing the wine cave. So everybody up there, and now from states and states away, they're blowing holes into the hills to make wine caves. There's all kinds of tax write-offs where it comes like 50% less than building that same above ground structure. And then of course it's always perfect temperature. And should the fires ever go over your head, you don't get hurt. And inside, we're like, wow.
Are you going to headquarter the company inside a cave?
It's quite possibly will. So anyway, it's really good acoustics. It's all this diffusion and everything like that. There's 3, I won't name them yet, but there's 3 wineries up there. They decided the most amount of members that should be able to be allowed in this cave is 25. will charge 100 grand for memberships, like a PSL to football teams. And all three of them sold their represent out in like days or weeks. And so then back to Doug Darrell from Senior Vice President of Dolby that retired. Doug and I were sitting there going, how about, and I'll leave this when Art Kilm sees this, because we were talking about this over Capitol Records a couple years ago. How about we build, I don't know, 16 of these things out of aluminium? He's not on the call either, but Alex Rasmussen from Neil Fay, third generation owner in Santa Barbara. He does incredible aluminum work, or aluminium for all those who are on the phone from Europe. So we might go put 16 of these things around these wine caves, or 32. And we may actually be doing surround sound Dolby Atmos music in the wine caves. I think that's probably a great place to wrap it all up. I look, all of you in these, on the calls in here, I look at you as very close friends. I'm fortunate to have all of you in my life, including my daughter. Love you guys. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, team. Our
Hi,
team.
guys.
That's a great.
That's cool.